All right, this is the misdemeanor preliminary hearing calendar for the state of Georgia versus Demetrius Clark, charged in warrant number 2024 WA 78851. Representing the state is Assistant Solicitor Andrews. Representing the defendant is Attorney Mark Lane. Your witness, Assistant Solicitor Andrews.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Washington, the state calls Officer Washington, stand.
Officer Washington.
Miss, could you turn your camera on for me, please? Yes, Officer Washington, can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give before the court today shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
State your name for me, please.
Officer Infant Washington.
Okay, and what is your employment?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Could you state your place of employment?
Clayton County Police Department.
Okay, and are you post certified?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that give you the power to make arrests and write citations?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On the date in question, which is June 19th, 2024, did you respond to an incident location in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what was the reason for you responding to that incident location?
It was for a domestic disturbance between Mr. Demetrius and one of his roommates.
Okay. And can you identify the individual identified as Mr. Demetrius that you made contact with on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you identify him by a piece of clothing on the Zoom today?
Let me see. Yes, ma'am. He's going to be in an orange jumpsuit.
Okay. Let the record reflect that Officer Washington has identified Mr. Clark.
Reflected.
And when, and I do apologize, was the location in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Let the record reflect the incident location was also in Clayton County. And when you who did you first make contact when you arrived at the scene?
I made contact with another lady that's a roommate. She's the owner of the house.
Okay. And when you made contact with the other individual who was allegedly hit by Mr. Clark, what did they say?
He stated that he was inside his room trying to go to sleep for work in the morning, and Mr. Clark was on the phone loud, talking on the phone loud. So he went inside the living room to tell him, could he calm down and lower his voice because he has to go to work. Mr. Demetrius got inside his face, and he had punched him and he pushed him.
Okay. And when you made contact with the victim, did you notice any bruisings or anything on his person?
Yes, ma'am. He had a gash in the middle of his forehead.
And was there anyone else you spoke with on the scene that was able to corroborate this?
Yes, ma'am. It was another lady, the owner of the house. She did not witness what happened, but she did hear the altercation occur.
Okay. And after you spoke with both parties, who did you determine was the predominant aggressor?
Mr. Clark.
Okay. And what was the reason for this? Did you determine that he was the aggressor?
Due to there being physical injuries on the victim, I determined that he was going to be at fault and arrested for battery.
Okay. And did you ever speak with Mr. Clark?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did Mr. Clark state happened?
Mr. Clark told me that he was on the phone with his girlfriend when the victim came up to him aggressively, telling him that he needed to get off the phone, and he needs to lower his tone. But he's told me that it wasn't, nothing physical happened. It was just all verbal.
Okay. And how did you, I'll rewind a little bit. How did you determine that it was Mr. Clark who actually hit the victim, not someone else?
Because it was both of their stories lined up. They was both like arguing, and no one else inside the house was around when they was arguing. It was just the woman and her husband and two other men. But they wasn't there and they never seen nothing happen. So both of them was just the only two that was in a verbal argument.
Okay, and you determined that the bruises to the victim came from Mr. Clark.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what did you do after you determined that he was the predominant aggressor?
I placed him under arrest and I let him know what he was under arrest for.
Okay. And what was the charge again? I'm sorry.
Battery, family violence.
Okay. And no further question at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Attorney Lane.
Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
Miss Elizabeth Mann, is she the one that called you out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's her relation to the alleged victim, Alex Vanilla? Were they married?
No, they just live in the same house. It's her house. She's the owner of the house. So
Okay.
I guess she rent the rooms out to them.
Okay. Do you know, other than a landlord-tenant relationship, are they seeing each other? Are they dating each other?
No, sir, they're not dating.
Okay. And she didn't see anything, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. In fact, she was asleep in the other room.
She said she was laying down in the other room, but she did hear like them arguing and she heard a boom, like when the man fell on the ground, the victim. And that's
Okay.
when she came out and she saw.
Oh, okay. And then you said that you looked at Alex Vanilla, the alleged victim, his forehead. Was it, did you say, I've heard it was described as bruises? Is that what it was, or was it a cut or
It was a gash in the middle of his forehead.
okay. And it was bleeding?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were there bruises as well?
No, it wasn't any bruises around his face or body. It was just a gash on his forehead.
Okay. All right. And was there any video evidence of the incident?
No, sir.
Okay. Was your body camera on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did it record all this then, I guess, after the fact?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
All right, any redirect?
Yes, just one question. And Officer Washington, I think I did actually, but I'm not sure. How did the victim state that he received that injury to his forehead?
When Mr. Clark had punched him in his face and he had fell on the ground.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, closing arguments.
Yes, Your Honor,
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor, based on Officer Washington's testimony, she stated that she arrived to the scene, and she did speak with a witness who stated that she did hear an altercation. She didn't see it, but she heard it. And the officer also testified that she spoke with the victim, who stated that he was in a physical altercation with Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark did admit to having an argument with the victim. He just didn't admit to hitting him. However, based on the officers putting two and two together, and speaking with the witness as was the victim, she concluded that the injuries that the victim sustained were from actual Mr. Clark. And they both were roommates at the time, which would fall under the battery family violence. So based on the evidence and the witnesses, the officer's testimony, the state would ask that you bound this over to state court based on that evidence.
All right, Attorney Lane.
Your Honor, we'd request a dismissal of the battery charge. Just it cuts against a finding of probable cause based on that there wasn't any eyewitnesses to the event. We don't have any video evidence of what happened, and so it's just one person's word against another. And my client, like I said, denies having any physical contact with the alleged victim in this case. So we would request a dismissal.
All right, so based upon the evidence presented, I do find that there is sufficient probable cause to bind this case over to the state court of Clayton County. That's the order of the court. All righty, so who is next? Attorney Andrews, what do we have ready?
Yes, just a second.
Is it Millis?
We actually have Beth is on now, but I do believe that I think Attorney Lane needed to speak with Millis, or did you want to proceed, Attorney Lane?
Yes, so we have Mr. Miller.
Attorney Lane, did you want to speak with Mr. Miller first, or did you want to proceed?
Sorry about that. I was muted. No, actually, that was one I was needing to meet with to see what he was wanting to do.
Okay, and we have Officer Lamar. She's on now. If you wanted to proceed with Bet.
That's the one that, the homeless individual. Was that
Correct.
one?
That is
Okay, all right, so she came. All right, if we can get Bet's deputy.
Mr. Betts, sir, Mr. Lane, Your Honor.
So, Brad, you want to keep one of them back here?
Mhm.
Oh, that's why I got it. That's a big deal. Oh, shit. You hang out here with me then.
Could I ask for the record what I'm called, Your Honor, ma'am, or Your Honor, simply?
Now calling the matter of State of Georgia versus Claudie Betts, charged in warrant number 2024 CW 71750. Again, representing the state is Assistant Solicitor Andrews, representing the defendant's Attorney Lane. Your witness, Assistant Solicitor Andrews.
yes, Your Honor. The state calls Officer Lamar to the stand. Officer Lamar.
Yes, I'm here.
Could you turn your camera on for me, please?
They're all Scorpios. They're always thieves. They don't have fiction. Yeah, it's deployment.
I'm not sure why it's not working.
Captain, come back. Fucking Somalia, come back.
Okay, did you hit the video
Yeah, I
button?
got-
Okay, then. Okay, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for showing up. Raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you shall give today before the court should be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Could you state your name and occupation for me, please?
Siobhan Lamar, work for Clayton County Police.
Okay, and are you post-certified?
Yes,
And does that give you the authority to make arrests and write citations?
yes,
And on June 5th of 2024, did you encounter Mr. Claudie Betts?
yes.
And where did you what county did you encounter Mr. Betts in?
Clayton County.
Okay, and could you identify explain the reason that you encountered Mr. Betts that day?
We got a call from a MARTA bus driver saying that it was a homeless person at the bus stop, fully exposed and sleeping. And it was at Highway 85 and Garden Walk Boulevard, the bus stop. And when I arrived, he had nothing on, and he was fully exposed. And once we got there, he started putting on his clothes. And I asked him why was he exposed, and he said he was trying to get comfortable and look for food. I could tell by the trash can was turned over from where he was looking for food. And I let him put his pants on, and I transported him to our Sector 2 precinct.
Okay, thank you. And could you identify the individual on the Zoom call today by an article of clothing that you took into custody that day?
Yes.
What could you describe it for me, please?
It was a black male, about 5'7", 5'8", gray hair.
Can you identify him on the Zoom call by an
Yes.
article of clothing? What does he have on?
Oh, an orange jumpsuit. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. And what did you arrest him and charge him with?
I arrested him charged him with public indecency.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Attorney Lane.
Hey, good morning, officer.
Good morning.
Did Mr. Betts, did it seem like, did he have any physical injuries, that you could tell?
No.
Okay. How was he, mentally when you were interacting with him? Did it seem like, was he having any kind of mental breakdown or episode?
When I first made contact with him, he seemed fine. He didn't have an issue with going to Cubs, went to my car with no issues. Once I transported him to the Sector 2 precinct, he seemed like he became a little unresponsive, as if he was on some type of narcotic. So I started a fireside out to check him out, and they said he was good, but I transported him to Southern Regional Medical Center, and he had to get sedated, and he was turned over to the nurses at Southern Regional, and I took out warrants on him.
Okay. Did they tell you why he had to be sedated?
They said he was on some type of narcotic, but they couldn't tell. It wasn't alcohol. It was no alcohol was smelled on his person.
Thank you, officer. I don't have any further questions.
All right, any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All righty, closing arguments.
The state will submit on the evidence.
Defense would submit.
All right, based upon the evidence presented, I do find that there is sufficient probable cause to bind this case over to the state court of Clayton County. That's the order of the court. And Attorney Lane, you want to go in the breakout room with the jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can rejoin. And Deputy, we're done with Mr. Betts. Mr. Betts, I'm gonna have someone come in and do an assessment on you, okay?
All right, come on, Mr. Bates.
Thank you.